Manchester City's Champions League campaign is here. Order your special souvenir edition. Now, Manchester City are looking to bounce back in Europe after a disappointing campaign last time out. Not much went right for Manchester City last season, and that includes their bid to be crowned European champions once again. City fell at the first hurdle after the league phase, losing both legs of their playoff tie with Real Madrid to be dumped out of the competition 6-3 on aggregate. City had started their Champions League campaign in convincing fashion, taking 7 points from their opening 3 outings. However, a 4-1 defeat to Sporting saw the wheels start to come off, and they finished 22nd in the 36-team league table before bowing out at the hands of Real. There was optimism in the air at the Etihad at the start of the season after an influx of new signings, but even that has already started to disappear following 2 defeats in their opening 3 league games. But the Champions League anthem will soon be back at the Etihad, meaning those special European nights are just on the horizon. To celebrate the return of European football, we have produced a Champions League special, which is now on sale on the MEN's online shop. Manchester City versus Manchester United derby will give Hugo Viana a stark reminder of his biggest challenge. The spotlight will be on the 2 managers this weekend, as Manchester City and Manchester United do battle at the Etihad. Here could be a couple of awkward moments in the Etihad director's box this weekend. Ruben Amorim's closest relationship is with the man now Manchester City director of football, while Pep Guardiola is likely to save his warmest greeting for the man he replaced, who returns this weekend. That's not to say that Amorim doesn't have a strong relationship with his Manchester United director of football, Jason Wilcox, or that Guardiola isn't striking up a similar rapport with Viana as he had with Cheeky Begiristain, who will be a guest of the club after ending his 13-year stay this summer. But it does strike at the interesting dynamics and subplots that have built up around this rivalry over the previous 12 months, in which time it feels like an awful lot has happened. In fact, it's been about 11 months since things started to change. That's when City confirmed the appointment of Viana as Begiristain's successor, and when stories started emerging in Portugal that Viana had identified Amorim as Guardiola's replacement. At that point, Guardiola had yet to sign the new contract that he would pen in November, ensuring his stay at the Etihad would go beyond the end of last season and into a 10th and 11th campaign. By then, Amorim was a name that had been crossed off the list of potential replacements anyway. When Guardiola took his City side to Lisbon to face Sporting at the start of November, it was already clear Amorim was going to join him in Manchester rather than replacing him. When the Portuguese team won that Champions League fixture 4-1, United fans were cock-a-hoop. But here we are, less than a year later, and Amorim has one of the worst records of any new manager in Premier League history. The late 3-2 win against Burnley before the international break was just his 8th win in 30 Premier League fixtures. His intransigence over a system that doesn't suit United, and wouldn't have suited City, doesn't lead to any regret at the Etihad. Whatever Viana may feel privately about a head coach he has a strong relationship with. The way Amorim's reputation has been torched at Old Trafford, however, is a reminder of how difficult picking a head coach is. When his Sporting team were ripping City apart last November, he looked like one of the best managers of his generation. Now he is being mocked by Grimsby, who could feasibly have ended up at the club. The daunting prospect of having to replace Guardiola still hangs over the place. That is undoubtedly going to be Viana's biggest challenge, and ultimately, it is what he is judged on. The 42-year-old needs to be prepared for every eventuality. As it stands, Guardiola is expected to depart in 2027 when his contract expires, but it would be negligent not to have a plan in place for if he decides to go this year, especially if results don't pick up. Viana and Amorim had a tight bond at Sporting and brought success back to the club together, but the latter's experience at United clearly rules him out, even if he has walked away or been sacked by then. Instead, Viana will have to look elsewhere. Amorim might well find himself serenaded by City fans this weekend, who have adopted and reworked the chant United fans sing about their head coach, to the tune of Bonnie Tyler's "It's a Heartache." But he was the flavour of the month a year ago, and a coach that City's director of football would no doubt have loved to bring to the Etihad. Maybe it would have worked out differently for him if that had happened, but his struggles do sharpen the mind when it comes to the decision no City fan wants to contemplate just yet. Manchester City injury crisis offers £55 million man a chance he can't afford to miss Omar Marmoush, picked up a knee injury on international duty and is out of Manchester City's derby clash with Manchester United this weekend. If goals are the order of the day for Manchester City at the moment, then the sight of Omar Marmoush on crutches in Egypt on Wednesday morning was a dispiriting one. Erling Haaland showed he remains in fine fettle after scoring 5 in Norway's 11-1 win against Moldova, but City's challenge is finding enough goals to support the striker, who can't do it all on his own. That is partly why Marmoush has started back-to-back games on the left. With Phil Foden still absent, Marmoush is the only other natural goal scorer in Pep Guardiola's squad. The 26-year-old scored 8 goals for the Blues after signing for £59 million from Eintracht Frankfurt in January, having rattled in 15 goals in 17 games in the Bundesliga in the first half of the season. With Marmoush ruled out of Sunday's Manchester derby and Foden only likely to make the bench if he is fit, goals will once again be a problem for City. It seems that if teams can limit Haaland, then they can stop the rest of the City side. Bernardo Silva will surely start in the most advanced midfield role, but he has just 3 goals for City in 2025. Tijani Reinders showed an eye for goal at AC Milan last season and scored on his Premier League debut, but needs to rediscover his form after 2 disappointing displays. Haaland really needs support from out wide. Get Marmoush on the left and Foden on the right, and he would probably get it. But without those two, it is an issue. Guardiola preferred Jeremy Doku and Savinho in the Club World Cup. Both are exciting to watch but struggle to deliver an end product. Doku has 6 goals in 60 Premier League games for City, and Savinho just 1 in 29 Premier League appearances. With Savinho yet to appear this season, Oscar Bob is a likely starter on the right. That puts the pressure on Doku to stand in for Marmoush. The winger scored twice in Belgium's 6-0 win against Kazakhstan and continues to catch the eye on international duty. But at 23, the time is now for the £55 million signing from Rennes to take his game to the next level. Add goals and assists to his game, and we are talking about a world-class talent. Doku is well aware that they need to come as well. Speaking on international duty last week, he referenced his numbers and a desire to improve them, having admitted he was yet to hit top gear for City this season. "I'm not yet fully in form. I've always been critical of myself.